this one.
Did the music change? What is this?
This might be lo-fi. We still have yet to download something specific. It's pretty chill though.
Just get some trap music. Some funk.
Like
all our
some early trap days like Bauer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Peeps are showing up. Well, we took a week off, but we're back.
We're back.
Last week was the week for taking a week off.
Yeah, it was good.
Feel that?
Yeah.
What'd you do with your time?
Been busy. Oh, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Hey, look at that. We did it.
We did it.
Derek did it.
We see your stuff, Derek. We're gonna talk about cool stuff today.
We're gonna talk about really cool stuff today. You know who's gonna be upset about the stuff that we're talking about today?
Kay.
I know.
I am once again subbing for Kay. This is the voice of Sammi from The Great Beyond.
The ethereal.
Which honestly,
what were you called? The angelic voice? The ethereal angelic
I don't know.
voice?
It's very kind. Very kind adjectives.
I think you need to rebrand.
To what?
The ethereal voice.
The ethereal voice from beyond.
Yeah, we kicked it off right off the bat with B Buster with 5 memberships.
They are. Yay!
Hey.
Thanks, B Buster.
Showing up. So yes, no K tonight, guys.
No K.
I know you guys were all wondering, but she might be having a baby tonight. She
Quite
could be having a baby
possibly.
right now, for all we know.
For all we know. It doesn't sound like it, but
It sounds like she's just upset that she's very uncomfortable. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like she could be having a baby very soon.
Yeah. Probably, hopefully at least this week.
I think it sounds like it'd be this week, but I thought it was going to be last week. If we had been taking money on it, you know what?
Baby just doesn't want to leave her. Yeah, bet what day?
Yeah, we should get a bet going.
I think tomorrow.
So Kay will probably be out for a bit. I can't see her making it to next Tuesday. So maybe that's the bet.
Yeah.
Is that will Kay be here next week or will she have a baby?
I think either way, she's not going to be here next week. I think I'm going to be in here for a while.
Nobody's complaining
visually
about having Sammi on here. This is we're adding to the crew. Look at all the wonderful people in chat. This is amazing. Some familiar faces.
What?
So many familiar faces.
Richard, yes, you knew it was me.
Just all chatting with each other in there.
I don't have a Welsh accent, so I'm kind of easy to tell from Kay.
Well, have you ever tried?
Of course.
We had some cool stuff happen this past week. So one of the reasons why we weren't on last week was I was super busy. Had my buddy in town, Raul, who I bet most of y'all saw on Rogan, which was amazing. He knocked it out of the park and crushed that interview. Showed some awesome. One-of-a-kind footage on there. And yeah, do we have a little clip from that we were going to play for people?
Is this towards the end?
I'll be speaking at it because of all this, which is just amazing.
You can hear that, right?
I still feel like everything's in its infancy, so I'm humbled by the opportunities that keep presenting themselves. But like the Quest for Ancient Civilizations conference in Sedona, and then it's actually going to be
of course
here.
It's in Sedona.
It's going to be here in Austin too.
It's here too.
in
Two kooky places.
ACL Live, I think is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's an amazing venue. That's going to be in October, and then I'm doing a tour with Mike Collins from Wandering Wolf in the Yucatan, and with Hugh Newman, we're doing a.
Let me ask you about
program.
that. What do you think about that sage wall? Because he's the guy that goes over the sage wall. You think it's a natural formation?
I think it's more like the way I operate is.
They get into it. Should I keep playing?
I think that's good.
It's good, yeah.
Of course, Raul, amazing, gave us a shout out. We're doing a cool thing together. We're doing that Yucatan tour in October, right after the conference, which is at ACL here in Austin.
Oh, that's the wrong page.
That's it.
Oh, you said the tour? Sorry, I heard you say the conference.
I said both. That was it.
Oh, there we go.
There it is. So we're doing the ACL conference, but right after that, we're doing this. So you could come and do like a whole several weeks worth of ancient history stuff and do the ACL conference, QuestCon in Austin, Texas, and then come with us to the Yucatan. This is live now.
This is such a good deal.
You haven't seen this yet, have you?
Briefly. When I was linking it all up. But I have not done a deep dive into the itinerary.
And it ends on October 31st. And for the more adventurous crowd, you can hop over with me to Oaxaca for Day of the Dead.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, 40 spots for that. And for the conference in Austin, 2,500 spots. It's going to be a big one. ACL Live in Austin, Texas.
There's a new
and there is a new site
for this. Yeah.
questforancients.com with the number 4.
Early bird pricing ends in 19 days for Sedona. And then we got the Austin one.
So we were we walked the venue last week and checked out the venue for this, got everything set up and how it's going to look. And we're doing a whole bunch of stuff here in Austin, which is really cool. So I got to show a bunch of people my hometown, my city, and take them around and show them places, which was a lot of fun.
I'll be there for the barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue is amazing here.
Alongside also the ancient history conference.
Yeah. Secondary to the barbecue.
Secondary to the barbecue. Yes.
That was our week. That's why we had to take the week off.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get back into it. We're really diving into it. In fact, we're diving into it pretty hard, which is why I know Kay's going to be sad that she missed this one, because this is the kind of stuff she likes to get into. And there's some stuff that I think we're talking about tonight that I don't really know anything about, and I can't wait to get into and find out.
Yeah.
Our guest tonight is Derek Olson from Megalithic Marvels. Let's just bring him on real quick because I want to ask him a few things. Derek,
what's up, guys?
What is up, man?
Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us. You've been dropping some fire stuff lately, man.
I'm just trying to keep up with you.
Yeah. Every time I see something, you're dropping something from somewhere else in the world. And you just had a bunch of stuff pop up on my screen today on that I really wanted to ask you about first, which was you were showing Easter Island, and you said something in that clip. You dropped a short on Easter Island, and you were in front of Ahu'vanapu, which I've been to as well, and that's crazy that there's this megalithic wall there on Easter Island like that. But you said something that really caught my interest, which was you said the only megalithic wall left here on the island,
right?
Which means there were more.
Yeah, there were more. In fact, if you get into reading some of the ship logs of the former explorers on the island, like Captain Cook, I believe it's Captain Cook and maybe one other. They talk about other megalithic walls that they were seeing back when they were there,
Really?
which have since fallen into the sea due to earthquakes, the pounding waves, whatever. So yeah, it's incredible. So many people, as you know, don't realize there's a megalithic wall, just like you would see in Peru on Easter Island, Rapa Nui, right there, precision. It's got that centerpiece that just interlocks in the middle, almost like a push button. It's incredible. But yeah, there was a lot more of those walls, which have since been disappeared. Some of them have been repurposed, as you know. Later peoples will take the smaller blocks, and I think they built a harbor out of one of them. Yeah, there's the shot right there of the wall at Ahu Vanapu, and that's made of basalt, which is the toughest material on the island, which is pretty much why it's still standing, right? So many of the moai and other structures are made out of the volcanic tuff, which is a lot softer of a material. So
Yeah.
that is one of my favorite things to see on Easter Island, that wall right there. It's mind-blowing.
And it's right by the town, next to the runway, which is like one of the shortest runways in the world. When you fly in there and land, that's a pretty cool experience. And then right there, yeah, I didn't know this wall existed on the island until maybe a month or two before I visited. So it was kind of like a big treat for me. But curved blocks, perfectly fitted.
Right.
I mean, perfect. I mean, the level
Yeah,
of
that's so
precision
cool.
at that wall is it's completely comparable, if not better than some places in Peru.
Yeah, in fact, I even did a side-by-side comparison of that wall with a little interlocking block in the middle
Yeah.
to one that looks exactly like it downtown Cusco. And I've posted this before on Twitter and elsewhere, but it looks almost identical. Peru, Cusco, Easter Island, Ahu Vanapu. I mean, it's obvious, more than obvious. This was the same builders, same civilization using some form of lost technology to build these incredible megaliths.
Yeah, and this is that particular feature with that small block that was up just a second ago at the beginning. That there it is. That's found all over the world. It's not just Peru and Easter Island, but Egypt, Turkey, and a lot of different places. This kind of design feature built into the wall.
When you were
So
there,
weird.
isn't it?
So weird. Yeah. Like, why? Why would that be a thing everywhere?
And then there's the moai. You can see his head there, basically sunken into the earth right by this wall. So it's just an incredible place to visit. Michael, when you were there, did you see any of the basalt moai statues by chance? They're the real rare ones.
Yeah, I think I saw everything on that on the island, and I gotta. Oh, we put the video out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna
I think it's
go to try
yeah, I
to
think
find
it's
that.
out. I have a video out. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like, of the 800 plus moai on Easter Island, I've noticed at least 3 different styles. There might be, 4 or 5, but of the 800 plus, there's only about 14 moai statues made of basalt. Again, the same material as that wall. So they are much more precision. The form is held up because the material is harder, right? Instead of the volcanic material. And it's interesting, when I was there, we went around the whole circumference of the island. We're seeing the moai in the giant quarry, the big giant ones. Then we're seeing the top knot wearing moai along the coast. And those are all made of the volcanic material. And I was like, man, where's the basalt ones, And there was apparently one in a museum there, but wouldn't you know, that was off limits for some reason. Nobody could go to this museum that was closed. So the only other basalt moai you can see are the ones that on this really remote beach that you can only get there by horseback. And so I didn't get to see any basalt moai on the island, but I did see one 2 summers before when I was visiting the British Museum. They've got that big moai there,
Yeah.
and that was taken from Easter Island, and you can see just its incredible precision features if you get to the British Museum. But it's crazy. That thing was removed in 1868, and it was presented to, I think, Queen Victoria. It's got these enigmatic birdman petroglyphs on its backside. But I theorize that maybe these basalt moai were the original, oldest moai statues made by the lost civilization.
Oh,
Because, and that the bigger ones that are made of the volcanic, you can see that they were obviously made out of that quarry, right? Pulled out
right.
of that quarry. Those obviously were made and cut out with hand tools, possibly even by the Polynesians, but were they replicating these original basalt ones? If that makes sense.
It does. Sammy, is there any way you can find the picture of the British Museum moai?
Yeah.
I posted it because I was there just a few months ago at the British Museum and got a bunch of video of that and pictures of that one. And what you'll notice about that one is it's much more detailed. It's the harder material, and it's got way more detail on it than the other statues. From its chest there, yeah, to its that's a good picture on the right
I
there.
know, I'm trying to get a bigger one.
Yeah, they don't want to give it to us, huh?
We can zoom in.
But it's very precise, very clean angles, very kind of ornate in its depiction, which you don't see on a lot of the other ones. That's a good shot there. I mean, the hands are clearly defined. You've got bends and clean, smooth angles, the nose, the lips, the brow there, all of that. I mean, there's even designs within the ear, and then the stuff that's on the back as well. And you've got that hand clasp around the stomach area, like you see on other statues around the world. It's kind of crazy if this is just another example of like the older things are, the more advanced they seem.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Easter Island? Is a great focal point for debating that topic of there being a ancient culture, an advanced ancient worldwide connected cultures, because it's in this isolated zone of how it really begs a lot of questions about some of the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, there's so much to Easter Island. Again, it's funny. I'll use the phrase Easter Island, and I'll get rebuked by so many people saying it's Rapa Nui, you idiot. So I don't ever know which one to use. But yeah, to me, it's almost like there was 3 epochs there. This first epoch, maybe 12,500 plus years ago, where the long ears, when you read the legends, they talk about the long-eared master builders. And so again, were the moai representing the long ears? I think so, because even the Polynesians say that the moai were the chiefly deified visual of the ancestors that once lived here. And so were this first epoch where there was this lost civilization that had some kind of lost technology? They're making these basalt moai, and they're representing themselves with these strange features, long ears, strange skulls. Again, using lost technology to make the basalt in the Ahu Vanapu walls. And then it's like something happened, and the second epoch arrives thousands of years later. Maybe they were survivors of the Younger Dryas, and they used basalt chisels from the island to make the largest moai from the quarries, right? Because they've found these basalt pickaxes all over up there. And so were they from their legends, right? And seeing the basalt moai now making these monster monoliths out of the softer volcanic stone. And then it's like you had the third epoch finally arrive. And this is the Polynesians, some 3,000 years ago. Now they get credit for making everything, right? But it's interesting on Easter Island, a lot of people don't realize there's short ear moai. And I believe these were made by the Polynesians. They're the newest ones. And these Polynesian short ears, it basically all lends to the legends that you learn about from the oral traditions of the battles of the long ears versus the short ears and King Hotamatua. And I think he likely was maybe the first Polynesian that came. But even his legends, when you read about the legends of King Hotamatua, when he arrived at Akena Beach, guess what he says? Guess what legend says he found there? A huge graveyard. And so it's likely that, again, the island was already settled, right? So you have this third epoch, and they were likely the Polynesians, the short ears, using the basalt chisels to make even the smaller moai with the red top knots. And so there's so much here. I love digging into the writings of, some of the first explorers. And so if you look into the ship logs of Jacob Roggeveen, he was the Dutch explorer who came to Easter Island in the 1700s. And the stuff this guy writes about seeing is nuts. He talks about, he recorded observations when they land on the island, that the giant moai were served by a priesthood of what he called very large looking men who had remarkably white skin, long ears, and red hair. This is the 1700s, right?
This is what he wrote.
This is what he's writing in 1722. They come on the island, and there's this large priesthood with red hair, remarkably white skin, and he makes the point that the rest of the population appeared to be of a mixed descent and did not venerate or worship the statues like this priesthood class did. And so when you dig into this, you find out that these guys were.
Can we drop that in chat, Sammy, for people? Because I want to read that later too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never heard about this, Derek.
Yeah, and then there's other missionaries that were, on the island in the 1800s, and they document finding. They documented this one guy, Father Gaspard Zumbaum, I think his name was, how that in former times this priest class, they were cannibals in the name of their god Make. That weird face you see all over the rocks. Something else crazy that Roggeveen. Now this was, I found an old writing. What was it called? In the 1770s, there was a guy named Alexander Dalrymple who worked for the British East India Company, and he wrote this book called Historical Collection of the Several Voyages and Discoveries of the South Pacific Ocean. So he's collecting all these writings from great explorers. Well, he has a section in there dedicated to Roggeveen's expeditions. And again, if you look into this guy Dalrymple, he was a pretty big deal in his day, making all these maps for the East India Company. But in his book, he is referencing Roggeveen's expeditions again to Easter Island. And he makes several mentions of again, it sounds like almost this priesthood class that we just talked about. So I've got a quote here. Where is it? So it says, when they're approaching the island, the inhabitants of the island where we lost our vessel, or this was another island they were visiting after Easter Island. The inhabitants of the island where we lost our vessel were larger than those of Easter Island, and we never found larger after. Some of the people affirmed that they had seen the footsteps of islanders 20 inches long. They had the whole body painted of all colors, their hair very long, black and brown, inclining a little to red. They carry pikes from 18 to 20 feet high. Their countenances do not indicate a disposition gentle or humane. They are very cruel. They go in bodies of 100 or 50. The point is, it seems like they're talking about 8+ foot tall ancients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Roggeveen has a quote that they saw 12 foot tall natives on Easter Island.
That I can't. Can you even imagine seeing, like, you know, there's so many writings around the world of stuff like this, but not just encountering one, but a bunch of people up on an island with 12-foot tall people walking around and be insane.
It sounds crazy, I know, right? But is it possible that this was some kind of survivors of the Younger Dryas that were still living in the 1770s and have since obviously been wiped out? But there's so much to Easter Island, whether it's that stuff or the basalt statues, subterranean chambers. It's just a crazy place to go. When you look at the fingers and the red hair, the top knots, like there's such an influence from Peru, right?
Yeah. Now, and there's also issues with which you run into a lot of times in places like Easter Island, right? Where, you know, the original inhabitants or the people that are considered the native population, you know, they don't want things dug up or looked at or whatever. Because one of the things that stuck out to me when you just were talking about all of this was that account of them pulling up and finding a mass graveyard. I mean, that seems like something that we could look at and see if there's still graves there and bodies in the ground from back in the day. But, you know, then if you try to do stuff like that, like in a place like Easter Island, you're going to run into all kinds of things about, you know, that would make that difficult or not allowed.
It also just seems like another one of those cases where the stories of the people that have lived there, like the, you know, the myths and the legends and stuff, just continue to sort of get overlooked and passed as myth when it might actually have some truth to it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and it's, as you know, having been there, Michael, like it's so controlled, that island.
Yeah.
Unless you're Graham Hancock or someone real special, which isn't me. It's so controlled.
Or
you
me.
know, unlike Peru, you can go off the beaten path if you're not at a main site and really explore and touch stuff.
Yeah.
But there, everything's roped off. It was so annoying. Like if you even step past their little boundaries, you'll hear the guards whistling with these whistles at you, coming to tackle you. And so I didn't like that.
And just so people understand, Derek's not talking about like just boundaries that are like 5 or even 10 feet away. Their boundaries at the sites there can sometimes be 20 plus yards away. You're nowhere even close to what you're looking at. I mean, and when I say no, you're not close. Like I have to zoom in with my camera on some sites because that's how far the boundary line is. So and the other thing is you can't go to any sites around the island and get access to the site, walk around or look at it without a guide, which you have to pay for, which can be anywhere from, I think we got a deal and it was $175 per person per day. So it can be more than that, but you have to pay a daily rate just to access the sites and you have to have a guide with you. And so, and then the boundary lines, they're very strict, but these aren't, you know, boundary. Yeah, I mean, right there. So that's
like, what?
That's how far away
40 feet or something.
So far.
The boundary line is there from the statues.
You're like, oh, look, all the way over there. It looks so cool, all the way over there.
And Derek, you're not wrong. If you cross that line, somebody will be sprinting over to confront you immediately. Not that we crossed any lines or anything, but that's just a crazy distance that they keep you from some of these areas.
Right. I had people on my tour thinking that, you know, you've seen some of those photos from the 90s where people are excavating a moai and they're
Yeah.
down, kind of looking at its body that was buried. And people, these poor people had the idea that they were going to get to go like look at a hole like that. And it's so not, you know, unfortunately like that where you can access this stuff. But one last thing I'll say about Easter Island, I know we got so much to talk about,
Yeah.
is, you know, obviously in the 50s, Thor Heyerdahl, the great explorer, and his team were the first to conduct major excavations. And they kind of revealed to the world, right, that the heads had bodies. Up until then, most people had no idea that these heads sticking out of the earth actually had gigantic bodies 30 feet below the surface. But it's so interesting when you just kind of get there and you're looking at these moai and you're stopping and thinking about this, especially on the quarry where they're still buried. It's so interesting how most of these statues stand upright
Yeah.
as they were buried, not toppled over like you would think if a tsunami hit them,
Right.
right? So how are they buried perfectly straight? Or many of them, you know, vertical, right? So you go, what really happened? And mainstream will tell us that the last of the moai were made just about 400 years ago, I believe. But as Graham Hancock points out, that seems really unlikely on such a small island with such a massive amount of sediment, right, that's accumulated around these statues,
So much.
bearing up to their necks. And none of them really show evidence of intentional burial. So is there another explanation? Could it be that we're looking here at the end result of a process of sedimentation that would have taken not hundreds of years, not 400, but literally thousands?
Yeah.
But still, you'd think they'd be
Yeah.
buried sideways, not vertical.
What is the reason that they say that you're not allowed to get closer? Is it, you know, some kind of preservation, or like, is there even an explanation?
Oh, I think
Or a
they would
reason
just,
given?
it's just, yeah, it's to preserve, you know, to preserve these great statues. We don't want your slimy hands touching them. Yet, like you said, Michael, there's so much that hasn't been excavated. There's so much that's still buried.
That's where I guess I'm sort of getting at, is like, do they think that there's something, like, do they not want you walking on that ground because, like, there's, you know, like, this is, I think, a great example with all of that space right there. Like, could there be stuff under the ground there?
Oh
And
yeah,
like,
all
maybe
over
that's
all
why.
over the island are subterranean tunnels and caves. In fact, it's so interesting what Thor Heyerdahl wrote when he was there in the 60s. He talks about, because most of these caves are all blocked off now, right, to public access. I got to go in one, but there was nothing really in it. But there's caves that Heyerdahl talked about where he said inside, he literally saw, you know, it was like something you'd see in Peru. It was a room carved out of the volcanic bedrock that was vaulted ceiling, where there was shelving, what looked like, you know, precision stone beds, and on the shelves of inside the subterranean cave, again, it's all shaped, right, was not just skeletons, but he said, you know, monster looking statues and relics. So there's so much under there. I've seen some videos of people exploring in the caves, but again, I think you need really special access to get down there.
Oh, you're one of the few people actually doing tours to Easter Island that I've seen. So you still have 5 spots left on your upcoming tour. Is that right?
Yeah, we got a couple spots left. Yeah.
I have not seen anybody else doing tours to Easter Island. I think this would be an amazing opportunity for people to jump on that have always wanted to go. I do want to say, having been there, it's not as difficult to get to as everybody's got this reputation of being extremely difficult. You just need to fly down to Santiago and then over to Easter Island. It's really that simple. So, you know, if people can do that, just fly down to Santiago, get over to Easter Island, you can have a 7-day tour over there seeing all this, which I just so hugely recommend to people. This is one of those experiences, going to this place that you will never forget. It's hands down one of the coolest trips that I've ever done. Seeing all these sites and stuff. The cool thing is that out there you can take your time just walking around all this stuff and seeing everything. You do have to keep your distance, right? But yeah, it's an amazing trip. Yeah, there it is. Look how it's the most isolated island in the world.
It's so far out there.
That's inhabited, as far as I know.
5-hour flight, I think. But isn't it crazy how small it looks when you're approaching the island? It's just
so small. You
It's
can
so
see the whole island.
You can see the whole island out of your plane window, and it's like, oh my word.
So we rented, and then I know we were going to get into some other stuff. I didn't mean to do this to us, but that's the smallest runway in the world. And by the way, that on the right side of the screen at the end of the runway, that guy right there, I think is Ahuvanapu. Yeah, that's the megalithic wall.
Oh, great catch there. Yeah. Yeah, it's the most beautiful location right on the water.
It is. Yeah. So if you're looking at that wall and you turn around, it's the ocean.
It's
right there.
So pretty.
Yeah. There it is. That's that that mode looking area with two little out juts is the wall and the beach right there. Yeah. So we rented 4-wheelers, and you can do that when you're there, and that's all you have to do is you can just ride around on 4-wheelers. You just can't get into any sites. Oh, and that volcano crater you just zoomed in on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is where they discovered rapamycin, which is a plant that they use to help in medication to keep people who have like a organ transplant. It keeps your body from rejecting transplants. That's one of the only places in the world that you can find that. That's where they get all of rapamycin from.
Wow, that's incredible.
So random.
Yeah, in that volcano crater.
Hey, something else about that crater is if you go to that site, when you're going to visit the crater where the buses park, they have a replica of this giant Birdman statue.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to, he had to have been an alternative.
Sammy, the second on the island by the volcano crater on the left, the second one up is what he's taught. Yeah. There's a statue there.
I don't know if it will show us a statue, but there's a statue. And I'm observing this statue of Birdman. You know, it's really a striking looking creature. Well, the guide there that was overhearing me gawk at the statue, he says, "You want to know why this replica is here?" I said, "Yeah, please tell me." He goes, "Because the original is down underneath the water in the middle of the crater."
No way.
I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "No. That's why they built this replica so that you can see what the original one looks like that's under the freaking water." You know, so what are the implications of that? How old could the original be if it's in the crater?
Because the volcano there looks cut off, like that's part of the island's collapsed.
Yeah.
The shore around Easter Island is so rocky. Ships can't port at Easter Island, so they have to anchor off coast and then ferry everything in, which can take days and sometimes weeks to offload cargo for the whole island, because the shores around the island are so rocky and there's no natural port for them or man-made port. Now they're building one on the south side of the island. They're actually building a port there. But who knows what's around the coastline?
This is the little island that they had the competitions to, right? Where the guys had to swim all the way out here and fight each other to bring back the egg or whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I wonder if this, how different all of this looked like. Maybe it wasn't as far.
Yeah. Derek, let's talk about giants since we've already brought
Yes,
it up.
please.
So I
Giants.
put in the title of the video, and just to keep people happy and so they don't accuse me of clickbaiting, I put in the title of the video, Giants. And one of the things that I was looking at in the list of topics that you sent me was Lovelock Cave, which I always thought was really fascinating. And that does have some similarities in the description of these giants that were in Lovelock Cave to some of the stuff you just described at Easter Island,
Right.
specifically the red hair and different things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. All over the world, almost every continent, we've got the ancients talking about whether you want to call them giants or hybrids. Many are calling them now Denisovans. But as you know, Michael, having been in Peru, like there's legends of giants everywhere. Obviously, we've got ancient texts like the Bible, the Book of Enoch, some of the Mesopotamian texts talking about hybrids, the Golden Age, where the gods mingled with men. So we've got all these ancient texts. We've got historians, Homer, Josephus. Josephus was a first century historian who documented the Jewish and Roman wars. In several places in his writings, he's talking about the giants that were even on display in his day in the first century, and how they were terrible to the seeing. They were unlike, he says, unlike the appearance of normal men. The point is we have these non-biblical texts stating this as well. And then we've got, I know you've had Dr. Gregory Little on. He might have referenced the large skeletons found in some of these mounds, even into the late 1800s up to the early 1900s. Well-known publications like the New York Times, the Scientific American, the Smithsonian won't admit it today, but in their writings back then, they did. They talked about 7-8 foot plus tall skeletons being unearthed in mounds, creek beds, caves. Anybody can go to the Library of Congress digital archives. It's called chroniclingamerica.org. You can type in keywords, 8-foot skeleton, and you can see for yourself New York Times and all these newspapers from back in the day documenting discoveries. Again, we had the gold rush. People are moving westward. They're digging into the earth, and they're finding large skeletons. And so it seems to be a worldwide phenomenon. And it's crazy that it's actually finally hitting mainstream. You know, first we had UFOs hitting mainstream, and now like Tucker Carlson's doing interviews talking about giants. Like, what? Yeah. It's like, and so in my research, actually, one of the things that took me down the rabbit trail of doing Megalithic Marvels was the Lovelock Cave legend. I was living in Sacramento. This had to be 2012. And, you know, on my days off, I'd be doing research, Googling stuff. And I stumbled upon Lovelock Cave and the legend of the red-haired giants. And I'm thinking, this is nuts. And so one day I talked a friend in to doing a road trip. And we drove all the way out to Lovelock, Nevada.
You've been there?
I've been there.
Amazing.
Twice.
Okay.
And so I knew the legend, which I'll tell you in a minute, but I go in there and I was convinced. This thing felt otherworldly. And the whole roof of the cave was charred black, which goes to the legend. So let me tell you about that. So the Paiutes, they live in northwestern Nevada. That's the Native American tribe there. And they had this ancient oral tradition that states they went to war against an enemy tribe that they called the Sitka. And they said they were like these red-haired cannibalistic giants. And the legend states that the Paiutes basically, they were being exterminated. So somehow they unified other tribes in the region to join them in wiping out this enemy Sitka tribe as they were known. And so according to the Chronicle, they somehow pushed them back into a big cave and set it ablaze at the entrance. and then were shooting arrows into it to any giants that would try and escape. And so everybody thought this was just a cool, fanciful, legend until 1883. The daughter of the Paiute chief at the time, I think her name was Sarah Winnemucca, she wrote the first known autobiography of a Native American woman. It was called Life Among the Paiutes. So it's this cool book, but in the book, she actually writes about the red-haired people eaters that her tribe exterminated. And she mentions how her family's most treasured garment was this, I think it was a dress that was passed down generations that was trimmed with the red hair. So it went from legend to now it's in a book. And there's many photos you can find of this Sarah Winnemucca in dresses. And so I wonder, is one of these that she's wearing in these old vintage photos this dress she's talking about? But kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
We gotta DNA test that hair.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. That I always thought that was such a crazy story. And I mean, not crazy in the sense it's not believable. It's weird because this is where I always have an issue with, archaeology and mainstream historians and stuff. It's because they look at stuff like this and dismiss it outright while still saying that they are working for the benefit of native populations in places. So if we just go with America, they're always working for the benefit of the native populations, while at the same time completely dismissing
and ignoring
their
and
legends, their stories,
disqualifying.
they see as fact. This being the perfect example of that.
And this is a rare occasion. Again, this is way before political correctness, right? Because if we fast forward to 1911 and 1912, as I'll share here in a minute, we actually have archaeologists confirming the legend of Lovelock. But before they do, it starts with these miners. In 1911, back then, these miners would dig out what's called bat guano, or fertilizer for fertilizer. And so these caves in Nevada are chock full of this bat guano. And so they're in this large cave, and they dug out 250 tons of bat guano in what's now known as Lovelock Cave, this massive cave. And when you're driving out there, it literally feels like you're on the surface of Mars. It is so strange looking. You're so in the middle of nowhere. And I'm convinced they make it extra hard to find how to get to this cave.
Yeah, Sammy, can you pull that up on a map?
Where the cave is at?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a crazy look from a drone's eye view. But so in 1911, these miners are inside this cave, and guess what they start to find? Arrow shafts, burnt artifacts, and they start to find skeletons. And they say some of them are of very large proportion.
Whoa.
And there was one miner, his name was James Hart, I believe. He basically said that in the south end of the cave, they dug and they found skeletons. And he said there was a striking looking body of a man that they found that was at least 6'6". He said it was mummified and it had red hair and it was like super thick. And then so fast forward, this gets the attention of archaeologists from the University of California. They send out 2 archaeologists who, guess what? They pull out 10,000 artifacts inside this cave. And they said themselves, they believe that the earliest inhabitants were in the cave at 4000 BC. And I've got some photos of this. If you go to megalithicmarvels.com and put in Lovelock, I've got a whole series. But you can see some of the stuff they pulled out of there, which was like this donut-shaped notch stone calendar, large weapons. We're talking a pestle that big, and elaborate duck decoys, which were the They're on display at the Smithsonian in New York City. They're the most elaborate duck decoys ever found in the ancient world.
Really?
And so you might think, why is there duck decoys in a desert cave in Nevada? It's because 10,000 BC, this was a lush, like Garden of Eden. There was a prehistoric lake that was all over this region known as Lake Lahontan. And so this cave was actually on the edge of this massive lake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the ancients were into fishing. There it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And so all these archaeologists find this stuff. And then they said this, that, quote, tending to confirm the northern Paiute legend of the assault on the cave are the fire arrow foreshafts. A very large number of arrow fragments were found in the crevices of the rockfall, blocking the mouth of the cave as if they had been shot into, as if fired by the flaming arrows mentioned in the legend. And then the archaeologists said that themselves in their book, Lovelock Cave.
When was this? What year? Or year, around?
Well, they were excavating 1912, so their book came out a few years later. You can find it free online. It's called Lovelock Cave by Loud and Harrington. So I read through the whole thing, and they put some crazy pictures in there.
So it's free and like public domain?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then it's crazy. We've got the again, there was a giant pestle, if you know what that is. It was like the Native Americans would use these grinding stones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, found underneath the mouth of Lovelock Cave was one that would be held by like a 12-foot entity, if that makes sense. Massive. And so the curator of anthropology at the Nevada State Museum basically says how he believes it was made by the Sitka. That's what he says. And so that's one of the rare persons in the professional world that's an anthropologist that would admit to something like this. They couldn't
do this today.
Right.
They couldn't even brush up against anything like this today without being getting kicked out of the archaeological community just instantly.
Oh, right.
You
Sammy, did you see a photo of that big pestle in that article anywhere?
Let me pull it back up. I think
Oh, there it is right there.
That is, yeah.
Look at how huge that thing is.
That's crazy. Like that's a normal person can't use that.
Yeah.
And now go to that humanoid looking picture, Sammy. Scroll to
Is it to the right?
This thing was found. Go back to that. That was found in Lovelock Cave.
Looks like a little alien.
Doesn't that look strange?
Yeah, it does look strange. Is that like a 6-foot baby?
It was found wrapped in the cave, and then they also found that very large skeleton with a skull that you just went by too. And so again, the archaeologists say they found skeletons of large proportion. One was at least 6'6" with red hair. And they said the largest and greatest skulls were taken by the miners. But again, this is the Lovelock Cave story. And then where it gets weird is we have newspaper articles from the early 1900s talking about other giants found around Winnemucca, the dry lake bed, measuring 9'4", 7'10". So that's interesting.
Look at this jaw size on those things.
Yeah, those are massive. I wish there was like a normal skull next to them.
We'll scroll up to the photo on the top there. Notice how the red one in the center where the arrow is pointed is quite a bit larger than those others. And if you can zoom in on it, it appears to have a row of double teeth.
What?
I forgot that that's like a trait of these that's often talked about with the giants is double teeth, 6 fingers.
I can see if my sharing option will work here because I've got photos of this.
That'd be great.
Let me see if this will work this time.
Yeah, it looked like it pulled up earlier.
Share screen. Can you see me?
No.
Okay, share entire screen. Here we go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so here's that pestle I was talking about. Is that larger and better clarity than you had?
Yeah, it's really good.
So
There we
that
go.
thing is just giant.
You'd have to be twice the size of a normal person to use that, at least, I think.
And literally, this is kind of like Indiana Jones. This is the back room of Nevada State Museum.
So did you take this picture, or is this stuff that they've posted?
No, this is, boy, I found this somewhere. I even actually emailed this Gene Hattori, this anthropologist, who sounds like a pretty free-thinking guy. But if you go to this museum today, like I have, there's a little tiny exhibit, and it doesn't show any of this cool stuff. And it basically just says that this was all Native American. So here's inside the cave. You can see the top is charred black.
Yeah. So you've been in there. What can you give us a sense of scale? Like how it's hard to tell how big that is.
Yeah, you walk inside, they've now built a deck, but it's big. It feels like it's at least 50 yards long. There's the skull of one of the big skeletons and this weird humanoid looking creature that kind of looks similar to something you'd see in Paracas.
That's so crazy looking. I've never seen that.
Okay, and then here is, here's the best photos. Tell me if you can see that pretty good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Now, when we zoom in on this big guy, you can clearly see, doesn't that look like it might belong to an 8-foot tall ancient compared to these ones here?
Yeah, once you're zoomed in, it's a little easier to tell. The width is compared to the other one is.
Now let me show you this other photo of this skull right here. Somebody put it on a stand at this point, but when you zoom in, some say that almost looks like a row of double teeth.
It does almost look like a row of double teeth.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just freaked out by that chin.
Okay, so let me tell you about this photograph. Oh, sorry.
Big chin, man. That's a big jaw.
Isn't it?
Why is this so dark too? Almost looks like burned.
So there's a handful of people, including the guy who took this photograph, Don Monroe, I think his name is, who testified to seeing the giant skulls from Lovelock Cave in a storage room at Humboldt Museum, which is in Winnemucca, the next town over from Lovelock. And I actually, when I was out there, the one time I drove out there, it was closed. But two of these guys, Don Monroe and M.K. Davis, said they took this photo in the 70s and they were shown these skulls. Now, here's where we'll end with Lovelock. Barbara Powell, who's the director of the museum, the Winnemucca Museum, she basically confirmed that 4 of the ancient skulls unearthed at Lovelock are held by the Humboldt Museum. Not Winnemucca, the Humboldt Museum. And when asked why they're not on public display, she said the museum is prohibited by the state of Nevada from putting the skulls on public display because the state doesn't recognize their legitimacy. So we have the director of the Humboldt Museum saying these are basically legit, right?
Man. So they won't even let them show. Can you view them privately?
Did I stop sharing there?
Well, I think
I
we
just
were.
pulled it down, but I can bring it back up.
No. I wanted to make sure it still wasn't up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the word on the street is, and if I ever can get back to that area, I want to try this. Go in with some cash and say, "Hey, can I see the skulls in the back room?" If you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you know. Hey, if you know what I mean. Oh, you know what? It that works remarkably well everywhere else in the world except for America.
It's amazing how well that works in Egypt, right?
Yes.
I saw somebody. Oh gosh, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast. I saw somebody talking about, come with me, this special access. I'm like, on an Egypt thing. I'm like, everything in Egypt is special access. It's just, you just pay people and you can do anything in Egypt.
Yeah.
Egypt's crazy. Man, okay, so that's cool. Yeah, there's, it makes me think about all the different stuff with giants. You find these massive weaponry around the world, from Japan to the Middle East to South America, and all these different. It's not just like one time period or something like that. Like, there's reports on giants going back from the early 1900s to like almost every century that there's been exploration of the world, and traveling. I mean, you have, I can't remember the guy's name who went around Patagonia and the southern tip of South America, who had reports of encountering giants down there. You have writings and stuff in Easter Island. You've got the stories that were coming out in recent times, and that's Afghanistan.
Yeah.
All the articles and things that we just went over here from America. Did you you mentioned a resource for people to go look at old articles from America. Can you drop that in the chat or put it in the private chat for Sammy?
You bet.
So I think that'd be really cool for people to have access to.
You bet.
Because,
let me pull that up.
Yeah, let alone all the just all of the myths and legends and religious texts that have stuff about giants and where the giants came from, but the question is, where did they go?
They dead.
One of the questions.
They dead or hiding. Can you imagine if you were 12 feet tall, what life would be like for you? If you were 12 feet tall, I think you'd probably get snatched up by the government.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's hard enough just for people like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Have you ever stood next to a 7 foot tall person?
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's insane. It's like, and you try to, it's weird talking to somebody that tall. I was standing at a bar once and a guy came to get a drink, and I was like,
you just look over and then you're like,
yeah, right next to me. I was like, what the heck? And I'm a pretty tall dude. And I was like, looking, I was like, dude, how tall are you? He's like 7'2". I was like, all right, well, it's weird. And I think there's only like a few thousand at most people over 7 feet tall in the entire world. That stat was brought up to me a while back, and I can't remember, but it's like, yeah, it's only like a few thousand people in the entire world that are over 7 feet tall. So if you pulled up somewhere like on Easter Island or something, and there's like 10 people that are 7 feet tall, you'd just be like, what the hell? What is going on here, man?
What's in your water? What's happening?
Yeah, it's crazy. All over the world, we got these legends of giants, writings.
Yeah.
You know, and even possible skulls here, right from the good old USA.
Yeah.
So,
all right, we kind of led into the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. Did we get that up for people? That link?
Oh, I got it right here. The Chronicling America.
So just before we move on, Derek, can you explain how this works for people if they want to use the link once we drop it here? chroniclingamerica.org. There it is in the chat.
yeah, you just open up that link. You're going to see it says Library of Congress, and then you're in the Chronicling America section. I mean, again, this is not me saying this. This is our U.S. government digital archives. And so what you do is you just, it says keywords. Let me see. Okay, so at the top, there's a search bar, and you can search the collection, or I always go to everything. At the top, there's an option for everything. And then you put in, 8-foot giant or 8-foot skeleton. Hit enter. And you're going to see a bunch of stuff pull up. Books, and then you're going to start seeing newspapers.
Whoa, this is great. What a great resource.
Oh my God, I love stuff like this.
It might actually be easier
like time travel.
Instead of hitting everything, hit newspapers. That's the one you want to click at the top. Not everything. Click newspapers. This will make it easier because it's just going to give you, like New York Times articles. And this is how I find a lot of these articles. And so right there popping up, look at this. This if you could see my screen, I'm seeing all these articles pop up. 8-foot giant skeleton dug up. And it says this is from the Miller Press, July 25th, 1907, South Dakota. 8-foot giant skeleton dug up, relics of prehistoric times found in gravel pit on Sioux Reservation.
Dude, this is great. I wonder how big you'd have to be before you're like effectively bulletproof.
Sammy,
I don't think I'm doing something right.
At the top there where it says collection, at the very top, yeah, right there. Go back to the right. Collection, up by the search bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This collection?
Click that. Click that, and then click. There's a drop-down arrow. Newspapers, and then type in 8-foot skeleton.
Oh, just right in there. So not the advanced search.
Right. Yeah. 8-foot skeleton.
So we'll go newspapers.
And then just enter or search. Yep.
There it is. This is great. What a great resource.
15-foot skeleton of a man found in Mexico.
It's almost
1909, Roswell. Oh my God, this is so cool.
Wait, is that saying a giant was found in Roswell? That's a headline.
Where did that?
So just click where it's highlighted in orange there. Zoom in on that upper part.
Zoom out on that picture. There.
Oh, okay. There it is.
Yep. Sammy, you just found one I've never seen. Look at that 15-foot skeleton of a man found in Mexico.
Sammy's not going to get any work done now. Thanks, Derek.
You found my new vexation. Yes. Mexico City, February 2nd. The skeleton of a prehistoric man of gigantic size has been found at Peon, a town 10 miles southeast of here. The skeleton, when unearthed, measured 15 feet in height. The discovery has revived the Aztec legend that ages ago, giants inhabited parts of the Mexican plateau.
In Mexico too, then?
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if you were 15 feet tall, you'd be like bulletproof. Your muscle density would be so big that you wouldn't just die from getting shot.
This has got to be fake, right?
That's fake.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful out there for fake stuff. Okay, so we were talking briefly about Egypt and how fun Egypt is. But you put something in the notes about topics that we could discuss tonight that I had never heard of. And so I don't know if this is something really cool to dive into or not. I'll let you kind of, because I don't even know what to ask about this. But it's on the Egypt Area 51, which I've never heard of.
Yeah. Yeah. So Egypt's Area 51, that's kind of the local, one of the local names for this place. It's a site located about 3 miles from the Giza Pyramid, so it's not too far.
Really?
And it's known, its official public name is, if I'm pronouncing this right, is Zawat El Arian. And
good luck looking that up, Sammy.
I'm trying Egypt's Area 51 first.
I can spell it for you. I have a blog somewhere on my website if you want to see pictures.
Yeah.
But basically the story goes, the Egyptian military seized control of the site in the 60s. And so since the 60s, this is off limits to the public. Like no tour group can go there. Only some archaeologists, I think, if you have special access. And so it's off limits to tourism. The only photos we really have of it were taken literally from the Italian archaeologists who excavated it in 1904. And so there's black and white photos I've got on my website. Yeah, you're seeing some of them there. And so this site is very interesting because it's inverted. It was like it was an inverted pyramid or an inverted structure where the top has literally disappeared, right?
What?
So it's like going into maybe the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid with nothing on top of it, if that makes sense. It's cut deep into the ground into limestone.
Oh, I've seen that picture before. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and it's in the shape of a T. If you look at it from a bird's eye view, and there's 3 separate chambers, so it's a T. And when you look at these old photos, you can see the floor is dressed with massive granite blocks. So again, the structure was inverted and cut into limestone, but the floor was made with massive granite blocks, huge.
This is all on your website?
Yeah. If you go to, oh, that's a fake picture there, I think. But if you go to megalithicmarvels.com, that's real. Look how deep that is. See the pyramids in the back?
Yeah.
Let me put
that in the here. Actually, I think I've got the photos right here. I'm sorry. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah. Oops. Ignore that last post. Let me get rid of that. I left the S off.
Okay, sharing. Here we go.
There it is.
Share screen. Okay, let me know if you guys are seeing this.
Yeah.
So here's what it looks like from the top. So it's like there's a stairway entrance that goes down. Massive granite blocks aligning the floor, and then in the middle, the archaeologists in 1904 found this strange, they called it an oval tub, which I'll show you a better picture of. So check this out.
That always makes me feel like I'm about to fall into infinity. The screen on screen on screen.
Can you guys see that pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that oval tub they found.
It's got nubs on it.
It's got nubs on it, yeah. I'll show you.
First thing you see, nubs.
But you can see this limestone was just, I mean, carved out. And in the bottom, we have these granite artifacts. Now check this out.
It's crazy. Whoa.
Look at the scale of this place.
Is that a legit pic?
That is a legit pic. Yeah, I put the arrow on it and I really brightened it up so it looks kind of pixelated. But I found these before all the AI images were coming out. I found these years ago. And here's another one. This is the best pic I've got. Look at the scale of the granite underneath that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks, parts look like it was a quarry, but this was all laid down. I mean, I guess they were quarrying it out to get down that low.
And you see here was this oval tub, and this was like a lid that went on it with the nubs.
That's amazing.
How far does the tub go down?
You know, that's a good question. I do not know.
But you know what? That's also a great example right there of clearly those nubs were used for lifting that top on and off that piece. Now that doesn't explain nubs found on the sides of walls and different things like that, but yeah,
Maybe for getting the walls there.
It's got the protruding nubs. Something else the archaeologist mentioned in his original document I read that was translated from Italian. They found inside that tub, when they took the lid off, there was a strange liquid in there. So I don't know what that was, if it was just water, but the way they described it, it wasn't just water. It was some kind of ancient liquid.
So are you familiar with the
primordial ooze?
The pyramids being used as basically like power plants?
Yep.
And the internal, creating in the king's chamber, that the sarcophagus in there, actually being used to hold liquid to create a chemical reaction within the temple that would have produced energy that, what if we're looking at here, how a pyramid was started, how you would start building a pyramid.
Yeah.
From the bottom up.
Wow. That's a great thought. I love that thought.
And then so you're just putting all the internal pieces, the bottom, building up and putting all the internal pieces in place before you build the outside pyramid around the structure. So that could be, this site could actually be, an excellent look into what's going on with the other pyramids, almost like having them opened up for us. And then, maybe that's why they don't want it viewed, because if people were able to look at that and explore that, we'd arrive at that conclusion, and then we'd understand that these pyramids they weren't tombs. They were these giant power plants, which then ultimately goes back to ancients having access to free energy, which is ultimately, that's where I always land at when I get to the very bottom of conspiracies. Where I always end up is that they're just trying to keep free energy from everybody, because if you had free energy, the world would not depend on any kind of governmental structures and systems, or any kind of monetary system, or anything like that, which would enable societies to actually create beautiful, amazing things, independent of some monetary system.
There would not be fighting over resources, or everyone would have everything that they need.
Yeah.
I love where you're going with that. It's, as you know, of having been in the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid, it's unfinished, unlike the top portion of the pyramid, right? Which is precision megaliths. And that's what we see with this Egypt's Area 51. At least the walls going down into the limestone are unfinished in that it's not, precision lined with megalithic blocks. It's just the rare earth like we see in the underneath the Great Pyramid. And so, and then you mentioned the so-called sarcophagus in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. A lot of people don't realize that box, that's what I refer to it as, which some theorize might have housed, it was a casing for some device or something else to free energy, right? That box is apparently bigger than the entrance into the so-called King's Chamber, meaning it was originally built as part of the structure, like we're seeing at the bottom of this thing. So that's an interesting correlation.
Yeah. Yeah, it would totally make sense why they would keep this site inaccessible. 100%.
Something else to point out about it, to end this, is that when the Italian archaeologists were inspecting the mirror or the oval-shaped thing, they said it was polished like a mirror, which I found interesting. So almost vitrified, or it was just polished like a mirror. And then my guide, Muhammad Ibrahim, he said there was an inscription found near the base of this site, which is the word Saba, which translates into English as Stargate. So
interesting.
Kind of interesting to add to the lore.
Yeah. Are there Sammy, can you bring this up on a map and see what we can see from Google Earth?
Yeah.
Have you done this, Derek?
I actually haven't.
Because it'd be really interesting to see if it's all blurred out. Does that
says
look like the area?
Unfinished pyramid.
Let's see what they allow us to see here.
Baca unfinished pyramid?
Is that as far in as you can go?
Yeah.
I can.
Is that the site?
I don't know.
Let me copy and paste you the original name here, and you can look that up.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
you got the wrong.
did have that. Zaya El Arian.
Okay. Well.
Zawayet.
So go from that search there just to maps.
That's what I did.
Huh.
And that's where it went to. Let me
because it doesn't look like the same.
While you're searching for that, let me say this, guys. Michael, I love where you're going with the free energy thing, because when you get your feet on the ground in Egypt, you find out that all of the ancient legends surrounding these temples, it was about they were healing temples or fertility temples, and even dealing with energy. And I had on one of our tours a couple of years ago, we were at Isis Temple. And the Holy of Holies, if you go there in that temple, is inside this room is what looks like a charging base. It's this precision granite vertical base. And we had a holistic doctor that was on our tour with us. And so she's kind of tuned into energy, and she's using modern technology to heal the body, like red light therapy and all these groundbreaking technologies. So when she was on this tour and learned about the legends of the temples and healing and regenerating the body, she was blown away, because she said we're barely scratching the surface trying to get back to what they had mastered. And she felt the energy flowing off this granite piece so strong, she literally had to run out of the temple. I found that fascinating, coming from a doctor who didn't want to leave the temple, but the energy was so strong, and you can feel it still leaking in places. I'm not a big feeler like some are, but when I was in the King's Chamber, so-called King's Chamber, I should say, at the Great Pyramid a couple years ago, we were hanging out in the King's Chamber. We had our private visit, and someone said, "Hey, you should take your shoes and socks off and just feel this energy, man." And so
God, I wish I did that.
I did, and it was crazy. It was the strongest sensation I've felt of energy. I laid down with my feet on the granite, and it felt equivalent to being at the dentist with laughing gas, if that makes sense. Where it just kind of comes over you, and you're just like so chill.
Mhm.
And you could feel it almost pulsating on the second. It was incredible. So it does go back to energy, I believe. In fact, if you go to most of the ancient temples in Egypt, guess what you'll see surrounding them? Massive mud brick walls in ruins. And the reason is they were building mud brick to encase the energy of the temple so it wasn't leaking out to everyone, if that makes sense. When you look into the geology, mud is an insulator. And so it was insulating the energy of this area, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that does make sense.
very interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting too because this pyramid is surrounded by a military base.
Really?
Yeah. It's
That's all
almost like
military.
it's almost like they're like you can't make out where the actual structures are or anything because it's just surrounded by all of these buildings and stuff. But I mean, there's like this layer pyramid, but that you can see kind of.
Yeah, zoom in on that hole there. What is that? Something
That's as
else?
far as I can go.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and when you click on it, no photos come up.
They got that whole area shut down.
Egypt's Area 51.
No kidding.
Baka. So these are the photos that they have when you click on the Baka unfinished pyramid.
That's not even. That's Saqqara, isn't it?
Well, some of those are the same old photos I showed.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, then this is obviously not. That's obviously not.
That's Saqqara.
That's Saqqara.
Yeah.
So we don't even know. I mean, the older ones. That's interesting. Oh, that's a video.
Oh, this is a.
Like an animated video of the.
Todas las precauciones tomadas me hicieron creer que el contenido sería muy valioso, pero una vez más me engañaron. Cuando apareció el interior del tanque, lo encontré completamente vacío. Solo me percaté de que las paredes laterales estaban forradas con una banda.
I wonder if someone just stuck a little finger, tried it. Like, what does it taste like? Chemicals.
That's how you get superpowers.
Exactly.
It's just a little sip.
Yeah. Before we get off Egypt, are you running a tour to Egypt as well?
I am, yeah.
Let's December. Put that up.
Yeah, that's
you know what's this is probably easier. Where are you not running tours to? Yeah.
Honestly, I'm only doing 4 this year. Yeah, I'm doing Peru and Easter Island this May, and then Peru and Bolivia in September, Turkey in October, and then Egypt in December. December 1st through the 12th or something, I believe, is our Egypt tour. And we're going to hit all these sites except Egypt's Area 51. But it's going to be amazing. So if anyone's interested, we'd love to have you.
Here, I'll drop that in the chat.
You do some amazing tours. I always see such positive responses and amazing experiences. It seems like you have a lot of people that keep going to all of your tours, which I think speaks for itself. I saw Cassie in chat here, Cassie Coppersmith. in the chat. What's up, Cassie?
Cassie.
She went on one of your tours. She was telling me about. Said it was amazing.
Yeah, we met on an England tour I did with Hugh Newman a couple of years ago, and then we co-hosted our first annual Cambodia tour this last November, which was epic. And Cassie is the expert on all things ancient Cambodia, and we're going to do another one in January of 2027. We're trying to put the final touches on that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, on my last Cambodia tour, it was pretty cool. I counted half the group. We had like 45 people, I think, and half the group was from previous tours.
Yeah, I think that right there is the indicator that you're doing something right. When you have people continuing to come back on all of your tours on a regular basis, that's amazing. If you've got half of one of your tours were repeats, that's so cool.
Yeah, it really made it like it was almost a summer camp or something, hanging out with friends, because I had gotten to know these people so well.
Yeah,
we're all just fellow ancient history nerds. It was amazing.
That's so
You're
cool.
going to some places that we didn't go to. This looks
But you were doing
amazing.
This is a 14-day tour?
Yeah, 12?
Looks like a 12-day tour. But yeah, it's going to culminate with a private visit inside the Great Pyramid for 2 hours. We're going to hit the Osirion, Saqqara. We're going to see the Serapeum, one of my favorite sites. We're going to go to the new Grand Egyptian Museum.
Nice. I was just about to ask. That's amazing. We got to visit, I think, like a week or two after it opened.
Oh. Yeah, I'm excited.
It's really cool. In fact, that's our next video. We're dropping a video here in the coming week or two, next week or two, on the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's crazy. It's so big. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, it's there's no other word I can think of to describe it than massive. It's just enormous. It's crazy. No other word I can think to describe it, and then I list off like 3.
I can't wait.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
man.
it is. It's really cool. It's
just the other museum. The was it the Cairo Museum, where the old big one? That itself was so massive. You could spend weeks in there. Weeks.
In the old museum in Tahrir Square?
Yeah, yes, exactly that one.
Yeah.
I think it used to be called the Cairo Museum, and it's still there. We're going to see that one too. But that one alone, you could spend weeks in and not see everything. So
I didn't even make it upstairs.
Did you not?
No.
I didn't know that. You know what's, and this sucks. I talk a little bit about it in the upcoming video, but I like the old museum better.
Wow.
There's the new museum is so modern. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. You have to go. It's this crazy thing with some of the most impressive pieces from Egypt in it. But it's so big and so modern that it really kind of contrasts with the oldness of everything that is in it. And when you go to the old museum in Tahrir Square in Cairo, it feels like you're in a Indiana Jones movie. Everything's dusty. There's crates 100%. In the corners. It's like you can walk right up to things.
Things are like covered with tarps and stuff. Yeah. It's like, it looks like the stuff that's in the old museum has been there for many, many years. And it's like everything is in the new museum, obviously, which like just moved there. So it's like, it just feels like things are just more on display. I don't know if that makes sense. Like obviously everything's on display, but it's almost like the older all of the statues in the older museum, it's almost like they have it just feels like they've lived there longer. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a very curated experience versus a very kind of more natural experience.
Yeah, I feel like for the newer one, we were more herded. Like you're following the group, you're going with the flow of traffic, and it's almost like, yeah, with the old one, you can get, like, there's so many nooks and crannies and things that it feels a little bit more explorative, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good word for it.
Yeah. But yeah, they're different. They're both incredible.
Yeah, both worth visiting. That's cool that you're going to both.
Yeah. Yeah, that older Cairo museum, it's amazing. At least the last several times I've been there. That's where I got to literally touch my first Egyptian vase, precision granite. They think they've got all the best artifacts in their encased glass cases, which are like dynastic Egyptian. And then left in between two of them is what I believe is a prehistoric, right? Ancient granite vase. You can see machine lathe marks inside of it. They think it's so not special. It's just sitting there in the open. Yeah. You can put your hand in it. It's
so crazy. So there's one other thing I wanted to get into with you. Do you have time for?
Yeah.
Okay. Corral 9. You had on here discoveries, astonishing discoveries unearthed in ancient Corral, and I think that this is something you've been posting on. You've posted some on recently.
Yeah.
And I've been there. It's amazing. It was quite an adventure getting out to that site. It's a bit remote, and when I went, the river was flooding, and so the direction that I came in, I could get to where I could see Corral, but I couldn't get to it, and so I had to turn around and go back through the mountain passes, which is like 5 or 6 hours, if I remember correctly, driving over rocks, and then come back the next day along the coastline and way and around the river and everything like that. So, but it's an incredible site. I've released a drone video on it. It's in northern Peru, and it's been a topic of interest lately on the internet. And maybe you can give us a little history about the site if people don't know, because it's got a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of special things about Corral.
There sure are. Yeah, and like you said, it's in such a remote place. It's like, how is this ancient pyramid building culture thriving in this area? The climate had to be different, 5,000 years ago there. But in mainstream history, it's usually taught that places like Mesopotamia, Egypt, China gave rise to the first great civilizations of mankind. That's what we learn in school. Yet many people don't even realize that this civilization was emerging at the same time in north of Lima in Peru. And some call it the Norte Chico civilization. But it's right there. It was the first known civilization of the Americas. If you're not counting the ancient megalithic civilizations, right? But it's about 200 miles north of Lima. And it's just this huge, it was a 5,000-year-old plus metropolis, complete with agriculture, monumental architecture, these step pyramids, there's 6 of them, amphitheaters, sunken plazas, again, all set today on a windswept desert terrace. I remember when I was there, I was just dripping sweat. It was blazing hot.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is the most forbidding place I've ever been to. Now, what's crazy is there was a German archaeologist who first stumbled upon Corral in like 1905. And he was doing this wide-ranging study in Peru of ancient sites, and something piqued his interest about this area. And so he knew there was an ancient civilization that had been building there. The funny or sad thing is he didn't realize that the large hills in front of him were actually pyramids. Because, by then they were covered over just with earth, like just big old giant hills. Which also speaks to what kind of cataclysm hit here, right? If these giant pyramids are just covered in earth. So it wasn't until the 70s that archaeologists started to realize these are pyramids. They began excavating. And then in the 90s, it really emerged as as Peruvian archaeologists kicked off excavations and they started to uncover this whole place. But it's an amazing spot. There's so many interesting things to it that I uncovered in my research from one of my latest episodes. Apologies for my sniffles here.
You're good.
But most people don't realize that they found these acoustic musical instruments at this site. 32 flutes made of condor and pelican bones, and they found like 30 some trumpet-like small instruments made of deer and llama bones. And these date to like 4,000 years old. And they were discovered in one of the sunken plazas. And so it's likely that, and what's crazy about these flutes, if you see the picture I have on my website, I think, is you can see monkey faces on the flutes. And also depicted at the site and other places are what looks like monkey faces. I believe they've even found monkey mummies. So what are monkeys doing in northern Peru? Monkeys don't exist there. So they were clearly from the Amazon.
Yeah.
And so they were trading. This was like a hub that was trading all the way into the Amazon, which is just crazy to consider. And so it seems like these ancient engineers of Corral were also likely able to harness the power of resonance inside these sunken plazas and the amphitheater, maybe to magnify their rituals, right? So that's interesting. In front of one of the pyramids is a standing stone known as the Huanca, and it's like 7 feet tall. It's kind of an iconic photo a lot of people take, but it's basically it was used for astronomical purposes right there in Corral. And archaeologists have even done research saying it sits exactly due north of one of the pyramids, and it marks off the summer and winter solstices. So that's crazy. It's interesting the statues they found at Corral. So they found a bunch of statues, not a bunch, a handful, that were 4,000 years old. And when you look at this picture, actually, I got it right here. Tell me what you guys see. If I can find my folder.
And just so people know, these pyramids are older than the pyramids of Giza. Actually, I think these might be the oldest pyramids in the world. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, if we're following the mainstream timeline, these would predate a lot of the Egyptian pyramids.
It says 4,000 to 5,000 years old.
Okay, where did my folder go? Anyway, if I can pull up this folder, give me one more second to look for it. Okay, folders, sorry. Okay, here it is. Check this out. I'm going to share screen now. Again, this will go back to some of our talks of ancient hybrids. So it's always fun to uncover stuff like this. Share screen. Boom. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they found these statues at Corral.
Really?
4,000 years old. Now look at this one in the middle. Do you guys notice anything?
Taller with red hair.
Taller than the others for sure. Red hair.
This guy looks like he's got an acne problem.
What do you notice about the digits on the hand?
Lots of fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And it's a girl. It's got a hoo-ha. It's got a...
And titties.
interesting that they're at this site. They found these enigmatic statues that seem to. So let me show you one more photo. Here is they found this depiction of the staff god, they call it. Here's a drawing of what we're seeing on the left.
It looks like it should be a cartoon. A cat cartoon.
Yeah, that's kind of looks like cat-like.
Yeah.
Definitely needs to go to the dentist.
And then they also found, here's the flutes.
Oh, those are wild, man. Look at those things. They all look like they're like going like, no.
For people who've never seen the pyramids, here's what the biggest one looks like.
That is so cool.
And then check this out. Did you guys know that this was discovered near Corral? Look at this. A huge geoglyph.
No.
It's half of a face, and it's, this thing is guesstimated to be 4,000, 5,000 years old. It would way predate the Nazca lines.
Yeah, because there's several geoglyphs up there. I saw a couple. What's interesting is obviously they're focused on the main site there at Corral, but that whole valley is full of structures.
Yeah.
And there is something sad going on there somewhat. I got a drone up over the area.
Uh-huh.
And the site continues on down further from the main area. And that whole area is being rebuilt.
Wow.
And there's a lot of different some places I kind of understand. It makes sense in places like Egypt, right? I can see you can't have these big pillars on display and put up in places like Karnak and whatever if you're not building the base out for them or whatever. But when you're rebuilding the entire pyramid or whatever, and encasing it with like kind of what they're doing with the Sphinx in Egypt, I don't know, man. That's where I get and that's going on there at Corral to expand the site and make the other pyramids further down the valley look a bit more impressive, and then open up the trails for the tourism there, to expand the site, because it looks like they're really trying to push that site for tourism, trying to make it a place to visit. It's just so far out.
It's just so much more interesting to see it the way that it is, because it's like you get to really see the age of it in more of a way than if they make it look all polished and build it up. And
I
don't know.
Which is interesting. You said something when you first started talking about this, Derek, about the how badly they were covered in dirt and debris or whatever, which made me think of instantly what we were talking about at the beginning of our stream, which was Easter Island and these statues being covered and not having a whole lot of explanation. Well, I think there's explanations out there. People just don't usually like to dive into it because you get thrown into the Tartarian or mud flood category, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about is some kind of a flood and washing of this, debris and stuff all over the world, burying sites, cities, and all sorts of things. A lot of people don't like to really dive into that, because then, like I said, you get thrown into the Tartarian mud flood crowd, whatever. But these things we keep seeing all over the world, sites being buried, sites being covered with an excessive amount of thing. Easter Island's being a great example of that, where it seems like it's too much. It doesn't fit the dating.
Yeah, great point. Parallel there with possible cataclysms on Easter Island, for sure. Another thing that I found really interesting found here, that I'd never heard about was now this is despite the fact they've never found a cemetery at Corral, which is very interesting. There's no cemetery full of skeletons and whatever, but they did find the skeletal remains of a male on the top of the largest pyramid Mayor. And it's very interesting because some researchers believe this skeleton represents the earliest known evidence of human sacrifice, in the Andean region, dating to at least 3000 BC. 5,000 years ago, the skeleton was on the top of the pyramid, and the way it was discovered, it wasn't in some kind of grave. It was just kind of laying on its side, and so many theorize that it was like a ritualized. It's like they were dedicating the sacrifice to the building of this temple, this pyramid, if that makes sense. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I don't think that would be the only place, right, where something like that's been found.
Yeah, I mean, at the very top of the largest pyramid is this skeleton, and I even found pictures of it somewhere. It's got a big old crack going through the head, and they said that based on the studying of the body, this guy had serious back problems because he was probably a laborer that was helping build the pyramid. Arthritis type, bad back issues, something like more of a slave would have from the same work.
Yeah.
And so, but here he was at the top of the pyramid, a skeleton, possibly sacrificed to the dedication of the temple.
Yeah, that's crazy that they just left him there, that he stayed there for that long. Like, how long were they still there while he was just decomposing? Like, how long?
Before the cataclysm came, and
yeah, was he their final sacrifice before the cataclysm?
Right.
I don't know, but he was not doing his job right that day for sure.
Yeah,
the
sacrifice didn't work.
Yeah, apparently not, because it seems like that's the other mystery. It kind of seems like this Norte Chico civilization disappears abruptly. Again,
God
we
was
don't
not pleased.
we don't find all these graves. We don't find hardly any other skeletons, but that one at the top. So that means it's like they moved on quickly, like something happened.
Maybe they were abducted.
What happened?
So, two things that I want to bring up is, one, I heard Raul recently talk about how this culture there at Corral was that they've never found any weapons, so at least so far, and that this basically this was a culture that was living in peace for 1,000 years or something.
Yes.
With no major wars or conflicts or problems with anybody. I mean, they lived in this isolated area, protected by the mountain ranges, separate from all these other areas, very hard to get to. There's another culture that lived down by the water, and they traded with them that they were an agricultural culture. They trade for fish, and that there was no conflicts or anything. The other thing was of course, I forgot what the other thing was, but I thought that was interesting. Whatever the other thing that I was going to mention, will come to me tomorrow when it's too late.
No, while you're thinking, let me say that's exactly what I found on my research as well. Archaeologists have found no weapons, no defensive fortifications. So it seems like they were at peace. There's no graveyard, no cemetery, no mass bodies. It's like they disappeared, and they found sea lion bones in the wealthier part of the city. The ancient city was broken in two by the river, and the laborers lived on the south end, and the elite would live on the other end. And yeah, they found rich foods, and I mean, again, they were trading with the sea people because they had sea lion bones and eating their exotic fish. So very interesting site that we're only now starting to really uncover.
So I remembered what it was. I connected with Andrew Millison a while back. This is, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, when I first proposed my theory on the Band of Holes sites in Peru being used for agriculture, and that these were agricultural holes like you see in the Canary Islands for growing grapevines for wine. So I was about to fly over to the Canary Islands. I still have all this work and research done. I just hadn't put it all together. So I went to the Band of Holes sites, and then I went to the Canary Islands. And the reason I contacted Andrew Millison, who is a professor at a college over on it slips my mind, over on the West Coast, up in Oregon somewhere, I think. It might even be Oregon State. I can't remember. But he's involved in I can't remember the name of this either. Make Africa Green Again or something. It's like the green wall they're building with these pits across Africa to revitalize the land and hold back the desert. So they're, digging out these holes and things over there now. So because I was researching all this, I talked to him, and we went online and looked at together in a Zoom call at a lot of these features over there on that site at the Band of Holes. Some of the stuff that he explained to me was how oftentimes, and this might be comparable because Caral sits in a valley, the same as the Band of Holes site, and how these cultures would they're an agricultural society, and they're all in the riverbanks. But as the society grows larger and larger and larger, they start using up all their natural resources, right? So they start having to move up the sides, and then they just increasingly outgrow their area until they have used it all to the point of not being usable anymore. And eventually all of that area becomes, not an area that can sustain people anymore. And so you'll have these mass exoduses of people from areas because they've just overgrown it, and then they just exhausted the resources in the area to the point of the actual soil and the ground not producing anymore, and it just takes forever for it to come back, and so they have to relocate.
I think that's going to happen to Arizona.
That I saw and made a lot of sense to me in Caral after visiting there as well.
That's interesting, yeah.
And that can be a reason oftentimes for these mass exoduses of areas of cultures, all that seems to happen overnight. Whether that happened at Caral or not, I don't know, but I thought it was interesting to look at. So
yeah, very interesting.
Because that whole area is kind of like that. If you exhausted all that, you can only go so far up the sides there, because the mountains are pretty steep.
Oh yeah,
that's around the area. So it's not like you can turn that into anything usable. They're that steep.
Yeah, it's literally surrounded by these steep desert mountains, just windswept. Yeah. So maybe it was they used up the land and or maybe some kind of climate change issue. But I would never want to live there.
And people do. I don't know if you stopped into the little town there, but there's not a whole lot of options for food or supplies.
Looks pretty dry and hot.
Yeah. But they do have some good farming going now out there. That's basically what it is people farming by the river.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool area, definitely worth a visit, but that's one of the harder ones to get to. I think Easter Island's probably easier to get to than Caral.
I would agree 100%. Plus it's, Easter Island, I was taken back by how much it just looked like Hawaii. I mean, it was beautiful. I pictured it more desolate in my mind, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it looks very tropical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have this kind of false image of what Easter Island is. There's trees, there's little forests.
Yeah.
All that. So I think people think there's no trees anywhere on the island. There's you know, it's like this real barren landscape, and it's not that at all. You're right. It's kind of like a little paradise.
The village is just amazing. You know, so
Fun.
many cool little places to eat and shops. That surprised me too. There was way more, even though it's so small, there was way more to do.
When was the first time you went?
That was last May, and my second trip will be this May. So
I went in September 23, I think. And when I went, I asked the host has a hotel and some Airbnbs. We're staying at one of his Airbnbs, and I said, it seems kind of dead at night here. Was there not more going on? He's like, you know what? 6 months ago, every night it was tons of people down here in the city because that's the only place to go. And he was like, but we got Starlink 6 months ago. So now everybody's at home watching Netflix. Wow. I was like, dude, what a bummer. And he's like, yeah, we're hoping people will get that all out of their system and things will revitalize for the city, the town. And but I haven't been back since, so I don't know what it's like. But it sounds like when you were there, things were going on, which is good to hear. Yeah,
it seemed to be hopping.
Nice. The food's good.
That's good.
Great.
You're just not going to get any cereal. You're not going to get any milk. There's no milk. There's no anything like that can spoil. Doesn't
that makes sense.
All has to be shipped in on a 5-hour flight.
That's just so crazy that people live in such a tiny island all the way out there, and like that people have lived there for so long.
Yeah. I asked them what happens if when people get in trouble there, do they have a jail? And they said, my guide said yes. He said, and I said, so what happens? He's like, well, if you're just drinking or doing something stupid, if you're a local, we let you out the next day. It's just like a holding tank.
Wow.
And
they probably don't have crazy. It's probably such a tight knit community that they don't have any like crazy crime.
Yeah, I mean, where are you going to run to?
Yeah.
You're going to go hide in a subterranean cave.
Yeah, it just turned into a cave, man. Derek, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this, and it was really good to connect with you again. It's been a minute, so I'm glad that we were able to do that.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on. Sammy, so great to meet you.
It's good to meet you too.
Really,
were you at the conference?
I was not.
No, okay.
But I'm just a big fan of Wandering Wolf, and what you guys are doing here with the live stream is really cool. So keep it going. Honored to be here, and I'll have to get you back on again soon, Michael.
That'd be great, man. Do you have anything that any upcoming stuff? Let's plug the tours again for sure. But do you have anything else? Can we bring up his page, Sammy?
Yeah,
we got some tours in the hopper for 2026. I'd love to have you join me. Again, Egypt, Turkey, Peru, and Bolivia, and my Peru tour actually in May is sold out, but you can still go to the Easter Island portion. So that's fun if you want to hang out and go on a tour. It's one thing to kind of read and see videos. It's a whole nother thing, isn't it, guys, to get out to the sites and like 100%. See them, breathe in the air. There's nothing like it. That's why I keep doing this.
It changes you.
Yeah. And I always come back learning so much more than I ever thought I knew before. It's amazing. So other than that, I'd love to connect with people. Follow me on X. Just search Megalithic Marvels, or I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the places, YouTube, Spotify. I try to put out a weekly episode, long form. So I'd love to have you give it a listen. And other than that, let's keep searching for the truth of ancient history.
I love it. You guys go do that Easter Island tour. That's amazing. And you're doing Peru and Bolivia for $3,000. That's amazing. So go do that, because Bolivia is not always included in Peru tours. That's so cool, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. thank you for coming on, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thanks, guys. We'll do it again. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah. I'm like looking at the list of all the topics too. Like we'll have to have him back on because
I know
Kay will want to talk to him, but yeah,
I'd love to have Derek
so
back
much.
on. I love what he's doing. I love connecting with him. That was really amazing. What a encyclopedia of knowledge. There was no question left unanswered.
For real, I'm looking at that vintage UFO crash retrievals topic.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's what you wanted to get into. Where is that?
Next time.
Vintage. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll save that.
I can't skip. Can't skip a UFO topic.
Well, so I think we're going to be switching over to the live stream only by the end of this month. So just a reminder to everybody, if you haven't jumped over to the Wandering Wolf Live channel, to do that, because we won't be streaming on the main channel probably by the end of February. February will be the last month that we're streaming fully over here on the main channel if you're watching here. So you want to get over to Wandering Wolf Live, subscribe, and set the alert bell there so you guys aren't missing our weekly stream. So we'll be ending this. This will be our last month for that. Sammy just dropped it in the chat. So go do that right now. Open that, hit that link, go over there, subscribe, and then you won't miss us.
Yeah, we got this one. Gotta throw it up there. We got Derek kind of hiding in the background right now, but from Drew, same. Thank you for the super chat. I've always liked your work. I just want to chill without judgment. Either way, good work.
Awesome.
So
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew. And thank you, B-Buster.
B-Buster coming through every time with the memberships. It's amazing. We got another one too, didn't we? Ruby, thank you.
Ruby, a cute kitty. Thank you, kitty.
Sammy loves cats. Not as much as Kay.
Too. Kay has more cats than anyone I've ever met in my entire life. But I don't think that was really her decision. I think it was forced upon her, which is like, oh no.
Oh no.
More cats. Oh no.
More kittens. Yeah. And I think I'm guessing that Kay probably will be taking an extended break from us. I can't see her making it to next week without having that baby. So Kay will probably most likely be on a maternity break.
Yes.
So everybody keep Kay in your thoughts. She's having a baby. She doesn't know, boy or girl. They decided to stay in the dark on that, which I think is pretty cool. What's that?
So what day do you think?
Boy.
I also think a boy.
Yeah. I was sending her a message the other day, and I said something like, he's something whatever, and it just was like, felt like it was just like, it's gonna be a boy.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say he as well.
Yeah. I just feel bad for her that's an Aquarius. I have a bunch of Aquarius friends, and they're all insane.
I don't know, maybe Craig. They are crazy.
It's like, I think that's the craziest sign.
Live in their own world.
Yeah. What else? Anything else we need to tell people about before we say adios?
What's up with your book?
I do. I finished my book. It's done.
Wait.
This is the pretty big too.
Yeah, that's a book. That's a real book. And it's gonna be available when?
And
what kind of book? Picture book.
It should be available in the next month or two on Amazon and some stores. I think it's going into Barnes and Nobles everywhere too. So really excited about that. I've been working. That took me 3 years 3 freaking years I was working on that book.
Good job.
So I hope people
You
like
did
it.
You started
Yeah.
and then you finished.
I finished, and I'm so glad it's done. Now I just have to do all
Yeah.
this back-end stuff on Amazon to set up these accounts and everything. But yes, it'll be available in a month. We'll show you, or I'll tell you guys. It'll be on my website, so you can get it if you want it. If you want all the dirty details on me, because it's a biography. So
all the secrets.
All the secrets, yeah. And then, of course, plug the conferences one more time. We've got Sedona coming up in May, and then the big one in Austin in October. And and then doing a tour to the Yucatan. And with Raul from Pillars of the Past, and we're launching another tour in June. We'll be launching the next one for 2027 with Nerdrotics and the Forbidden Frontier crew.
Yeah, I'll drop the new link for the conferences.
Sweet.
We got a new URL for that.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
It was. Let's do our outro
on another Tuesday.
Let's see what Sammy picks for the outro.
I'm gonna do one I haven't done yet.
Okay. This one's so
dreamy.
Let it ride. Yeah, dude, let it ride. It's very fitting. Let's chill everybody out before we say goodbye. You guys find your little peaceful space before you go off to do whatever kind of crazy stuff you're doing for the night. And another big thank you to Derek. That was a really good episode. I really enjoyed that.
Yes. Love these topics. My fave.
We're gonna have to have him back on with Kay, because she I think she would have gone crazy with the stuff that we were talking about tonight. So
yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Lulling me to sleep.
I know. I'm going to bed early tonight.
Okay.
Thanks,
Nacho. Bye-bye.